I'm going to hell for this. Guilt crashed through me like a wave as his lips found mine in the darkness, but I couldn't bring myself to pull away. The kiss deepened, and I let myself drown in it, using the intensity to silence the voice screaming in my head that tomorrow I was supposed to marry someone else, a stranger my parents had chosen. They'd pitched Damien as our family's salvation, the answer to all our problems. But as the stranger's hands traced patterns on my skin, gentle yet urgent, I couldn't bring myself to care about their carefully laid plans. He didn't know who I was, didn't understand the web of obligations I was tangled in. For these precious hours, I could pretend to be someone else. Someone free. My wedding day came too soon. Harsh sunlight streaming through heavy curtains. I reached for the stranger, finding only cold sheets. Before I could process his absence, my mother's sharp voice cut through the door. Lily. Her tone brooked no argument. Get dressed. Damien's waiting. My stomach lurched. I hadn't even met my fiancé yet, and here I was, a stranger's kisses still burning on my skin. Mother knocked again, harder this time, and I scrambled into a robe before opening the door. She barely glanced at me, her hawk-like gaze sweeping the room instead. Come, she commanded. Your fiancé has been more than patient. I followed her downstairs, my bare feet silent against the cold marble, bracing myself to face the man who would own my future. But when we reached the foyer, time seemed to stop. There stood the stranger. That familiar half-smile playing at his lips, his eyes holding the same heat they'd held last night. The blood drained from my face as another man stepped forward. Damien, my fiancé. His voice cut through the silence like a blade. I see you've already met my brother, Alex. Alex's mouth quirked. We've been acquainted. The air crackled with tension as Damien's gaze flickered between us, something dark and possessive gathering in his eyes. He moved closer, wrapping an arm around my waist. His touch felt wrong. Too tight. Too cold. My dear fiancé, he purred, the words dripping with false sweetness. I trust my brother has been hospitable? I forced my voice steady. Of course. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Excellent. Because now that we're getting married, I expect absolute loyalty to the family and everything that entails. Alex's jaw tightened, something dangerous flashing across his face before he masked it. Welcome to the family, Lily, he said, his voice carrying an undercurrent of both yearning and warning. Damien's fingers dug into my hip, and I fought not to flinch. This was my reality now, a gilded cage with bars of obligation and family honor. But when I caught Alex's gaze one final time, I saw something that made my heart skip. Determination. He'd been my escape once. Would he be my salvation now? Later, just an hour before the wedding, in my bulging gown, I fled to a quiet hallway, pressing my back against the cool wall as my world spun apart. My hands trembled as I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to hold the pieces together. Every glimpse of Alex sent memories of last night crashing through me. The tenderness in his touch, the way he'd looked at me like I was something precious, not a prize to be won. Now those memories felt like thorns, piercing deeper with each breath. Planning your escape route? His voice sent a shiver down my spine. I looked up to find Alex watching me, his presence both a comfort and a torment. He took a step closer, and I caught the faint scent of his cologne, the same scent that had lingered on my skin this morning. I thought you'd gone, I whispered, hating how my voice wavered. I tried. His eyes darkened. Then I remembered what kind of nightmare you were being dragged into. He clenched his fists, and for a moment, raw anguish crossed his face. Lily, you don't understand what Damien's capable of. He's not who everyone thinks. Fear coiled in my stomach, but I forced steel into my spine. I don't have a choice. Today's my wedding. My family. There's always a choice. He moved closer, bracing one hand against the wall beside my head. The warmth radiating from him made it hard to think. I've seen what he does to people he claims to love, the way he twists them until they're hollow inside. My heart hammered against my ribs. Why do you care so much? I searched his face, looking for answers. Why did you... The words stuck in my throat, weighted with memories of stolen kisses and whispered promises. Something softened in his expression. Because I see you, Lily. Not the perfect daughter your parents want to trade away. Not the obedient wife Damien expects to control. His fingers brushed my cheek, and I had to fight not to lean into his touch. You deserve to be loved, not owned. Tears burned behind my eyes. No one had ever seen me like this, seen past the careful mask I'd worn for so long. The weight of expectations, of duty, of family honor had been crushing me for so long I'd almost forgotten how to breathe. Tell me to leave, he murmured, his breath warm against my skin. I opened my mouth, but the words wouldn't come. I couldn't lie. Not to him, not to myself. I can't. His lips hovered near mine, and for a heartbeat, I thought he might kiss me. Instead, he pulled back, his expression hardening with resolve. This isn't just about us anymore, he said, his voice low and urgent. Damien will break you piece by piece. I've watched him do it before. He'll isolate you, control every aspect of your life until you forget who you are. Cold dread settled in my chest. What are you saying? I'm saying he's dangerous. And if you go through with this wedding... He paused, pain flashing across his face. You'll disappear. The woman you are? The one who dreams of freedom, who lights up when she talks about her passions, who dared to kiss a stranger because she wanted to feel alive. She'll fade away until there's nothing left but what Damien wants you to be. His words hit me like physical blows, because deep down I'd felt it. In every controlling gesture, every possessive glance, every subtle threat wrapped in honeyed words, I'd sensed the cage being built around me in just 5 minutes. Help me, I whispered, the words escaping before I could stop them. They carried all my fear, all my desperation, all my hope. His eyes blazed with fierce determination. Whatever it takes, Lily. But you have to trust me completely. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt something unfurl in my chest. Hope. Fragile as a butterfly's wing, but just as determined to take flight. Back in my room, I moved like a ghost, fingertips trailing over familiar objects that suddenly felt foreign. The antique music box my grandmother left me, the worn copy of Jane Eyre on my nightstand, the photographs of happier times. All of them whispered of a life I was about to leave behind. My hands shook as I grabbed only what I couldn't bear to part with, each item weighing heavy with memories. The door burst open without warning. Damien filled the frame, his presence turning the air to ice. My heart stuttered as his gaze swept over my partially packed bag. Going somewhere? His voice was silk over steel, deceptively gentle. He stepped inside, closing the door with a soft click that somehow sounded like a prison gate shutting. I forced myself to stand straight, though my legs felt like water. I needed some air. Liar. He moved closer, each step measured and deliberate. The smell of expensive cologne couldn't mask something darker beneath. Something predatory. You're planning to run. With my brother, no less. His lips curved in a smile that never reached his eyes. Did you really think I wouldn't know? My mouth went dry. Damien. His hand shot out, fingers circling my wrist in a grip that would leave bruises. Stop talking. The facade of civility cracked, revealing something twisted underneath. Do you understand what you are to me, Lily? An investment. I bought you with my influence, my promises to save your pathetic family from ruin. You're mine. Let go, I gasped, trying to twist free. His grip only tightened, sending sparks of pain up my arm. He yanked me closer, his breath hot against my face. You think Alex can protect you? That he can offer you anything close to what I can? A dark laugh escaped him, He's nothing. A spare heir who spent his life living in my shadow. And you. His free hand caught my chin, forcing me to meet his gaze. You're just a pretty little bargaining chip who forgot her place. Something snapped inside me. Years of being polite, accommodating, the perfect daughter. It all crumbled in the face of his cruelty. I'm not a thing to be owned, I spat, surprising us both with the venom in my voice. His eyes widened for a fraction of a second before narrowing dangerously. No? The word was barely a whisper. Then let me educate you about your position. His grip tightened until I couldn't help the small cry of pain that escaped. You will marry me in an hour. You will smile and laugh and play the devoted wife. And if you so much as look at my brother again... He leaned closer, his lips brushing my ear. I will destroy everything you love, piece by piece, starting with him. He released me suddenly, sending me stumbling backward. I caught myself against the bed, my whole body trembling. Get ready to come to the altar, he ordered, straightening his jacket as if nothing had happened. The door closed behind him with a soft click, but I couldn't move. My legs gave out, and I slid to the floor, wrapping my arms around myself as if I could somehow hold the broken pieces together. The bruises forming on my wrist were nothing compared to the ache in my chest. The crushing realization that this was what my life would become. A beautiful prison, with a master who saw me as nothing more than another possession to control. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Crying wouldn't save me. Nothing would save me except myself. I forced myself to stand, legs still shaking. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. The girl who had always done what was expected, who had tried so hard to be perfect, to be worthy. But as I stared at my reflection, something else emerged. Something stronger. Something that refused to be broken. My fingers found my grandmother's locket, the one piece of jewelry I wore that Damien hadn't given me. Inside was a quote she'd loved. The bird fights its way out of the egg. The egg is the world. Who would be born must first destroy a world. I took a deep breath, squaring my shoulders. I knew what I had to do. The girl in the mirror looked back at me with new determination. I would destroy my world, and I would be free. The hallway stretched before me like a gauntlet as I moved silently through the house. Each step felt like walking through deep water, my body heavy with the weight of what I was about to do. My parents' voices stopped me cold. Lily! My mother emerged from a door, my father close behind. The sight of them made my heart crack. They looked smaller somehow, worn down by worry and desperation. What are you doing? The lie died on my tongue as I saw the knowledge in their eyes. They already knew. You can't leave, my father said, his voice rough with emotion. Everything we've built, everything we've sacrificed, it all depends on this marriage. Sacrificed? The word tasted bitter. What about what I'm sacrificing? My freedom? My safety? I pulled up my sleeve, revealing the bruises Damien had left. Is this what you want for me? My mother's face went pale, but she steeled herself. Sometimes we must endure difficulties for the greater good. Think of the family, Lily. Think of everything we'll lose. A laugh escaped me, hollow and painful. The family? All I've ever done is think of the family. I've smiled at the right people, worn the right clothes, said all the right things. I've made myself small enough to fit into every box you've built for me. My voice cracked. But this? Marrying a man who sees me as property? Who threatens to destroy everything I love if I don't obey? That's not sacrifice, Mother. That's surrender. You don't understand, my father began, but I cut him off. I understand perfectly. The words came faster now, years of unspoken thoughts breaking free. You're so afraid of losing your social standing that you're willing to sell your daughter to a monster. Have you even looked at him? Really looked? Or were you too dazzled by his money and influence to see what's underneath? Footsteps behind me made me turn. Alex stood there, his presence solid and reassuring. My parents' expressions hardened at the sight of him. "This is your doing," my mother accused. "You've poisoned her mind against her own family." "No," I said firmly, moving to stand beside Alex. He showed me I had a choice, that I deserved better than being traded away like a piece of property. I took his hand, drawing strength from his warmth. He showed me what real love looks like. "Love?" My father scoffed. "Love won't pay our debts. Love won't save our reputation. Then maybe it's time to let them both go." The words hung in the air, heavy with finality. "I won't set myself on fire to keep you warm." The sound of tires on gravel shattered the moment, Damien's footsteps approaching fast. "Go," my father said suddenly, surprising us all. Something had shifted in his face. Recognition, perhaps, or regret. "Go now, before—" He didn't finish. He didn't have to. I saw in his eyes that he finally understood what he'd almost condemned me to. Alex pulled me toward the side exit as headlights swept across the windows. My mother called out one last time, her voice breaking. "Lily, please." "I'm sorry," I whispered, meaning it with every fiber of my being. "But I choose me." We ran into the night, the cool air sharp in my lungs. Behind us, I heard doors slam, Damien's voice rising in fury. Alex led me through the gardens, taking paths I hadn't known existed, until we reached a car hidden behind the old groundskeeper's cottage. "Get in," he urged, but Damien's voice cut through the darkness. "Lily!" The rage in his tone made my blood freeze. His car skidded to a stop, blocking the driveway ahead. He emerged like a storm-given form, eyes wild with fury. "You think you can just walk away from me? That I'll let you embarrass me like this?" Alex stepped in front of me, his stance protective but controlled. "It's over, Damien. She's not yours to control." Damien's laugh was ugly, unhinged. "Control? You have no idea what control is, little brother. But you will." He moved forward, menace in every step. "I'll show you both what happens when people defy me." "No." The word came out stronger than I expected. I stepped out from behind Alex, facing Damien directly. "You'll show everyone exactly who you are. The real you, not the charming mask you wear in public." I pulled out my phone, holding it up. The voice recorder app blinked steadily. Every threat, every moment of violence, all recorded. One call and everyone will know. Color drained from his face. "You wouldn't dare." "Try me." My voice didn't waver. "I'm done being afraid of you." He lunged forward, but Alex was faster. The fight was brutal but brief. Years of resentment and rage unleashed in moments. When it ended, Damien lay sprawled on the gravel, blood trickling from his lip, staring up at us with hatred and something else. Fear. "You're nothing without me," he spat. "Both of you." "No," I said softly. "We're everything without you." Alex took my hand, and together we walked to the car. As we drove away, I watched the mansion shrink in the rearview mirror, the weight of expectations and fear falling away with each mile. Dawn was breaking when Alex finally spoke. "Are you okay?" I considered the question, really considered it. "No," I admitted. "But I will be." He reached over, taking my hand. The touch was gentle, grounding. "We'll figure it out together." "Together," I echoed, watching the sun rise over the hills ahead. For the first time in years, I felt truly awake, truly alive. The future was uncertain, but it was mine to choose. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from everything you've ever known, trust your heart, and build something new. As the morning light painted the world in gold, I knew with absolute certainty that I'd made the right choice. Not just for love, but for myself. And that made all the difference.